Australian migrants who can't speak English. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.Heise here and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Grab your stein of coffee and let's have a look at this article from news.com.au written by Samantha Maiden discussing free English language classes for migrants arriving in Australia. Now, I would have expected English to be a prerequisite to migrate to Australia, or you at least expect people who are migrating here to go out of their way to learn English. Now, this may shock you, but I'm a first-generation Australian. I am the son of migrants. My father immigrated over from Germany. He got out of East Berlin, got into West, and he applied for a whole raft of countries, and Australia was the first to accept him. He had to learn English on the boat, reading the papers, teaching himself English so he could get a job and support his family. My mother came over for a holiday with my father, nearly 40 years ago, and she's still here. She learned English at school a little bit, not very much. I think she was saying she got the cane for couldn't point to Australia on the map, but she had to, teach it to herself. Now, I learned German as my first language because that's what my parents spoke to each other. So I use that as an excuse to justify my utterly atrocious spelling. It's definitely that, not just me being lazy. Perhaps, yeah, we'll say that. So I'm surprised whenever I encounter people that live here for extended periods of time that don't know English. And we see it. We live in the Asian part of the city. And it's sad, you go to talk to some of the older people in the park and they can't understand you. They can't speak English, and it's kind of sad. Then this creates isolation, this creates tribalism, and it doesn't allow cultures to merge, adapt, and evolve. So it is a very important thing that people learn the language of the nation they are immigrating to, and not to discourage the children from learning it. I'm trying to teach my kids some German. So we're doing German lessons and at least getting them exposure to it so they know some of the language. So if they want to continue on with it, they can. But English is probably one of the most useful languages you can have. It really is. But it is good to be bilingual. What did I learn at school? They taught me French. And I think I know qu'est-ce que c'est la gare and a few swear words. So, migrants will soon be given free English language classes amid fears 1 million citizens and residents in Australia would fail a basic proficiency test. I mean, this is insane. See, honestly, with YouTube, you could probably get them already for free now. Just, we're doing a German course on YouTube for free. You could get them. The government doesn't even need to be involved. Maybe it should just be tests to migrate over here. Because you're not going to be able to integrate with the culture, with the society. What's that going to lead? That's going to, particularly in tough times, that's going to lead to tribalism, and then that can lead to conflict. Okay, that's the problem, everyone. There's this fantasy that a multicultural society can sustain a civilization, but historically that doesn't seem to have played out. Look at Yugoslavia. Look at the Roman Empire. Look at the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Just keep going back. Find me one example. Cultures need to merge, evolve, and grow. Part of that is encouraging people to come to a nation to learn the language. Another part is to ensure we have free speech so there can be criticisms of cultural practices that we don't find appropriate. That's not a bad thing. That should be allowed and encouraged. It should be done in a civil and respectful manner, but there are certain practices that need to change. There's certain Western ideals, I think, that are ingrained in Australian culture that should be encouraged among new migrants. What do you think, everyone? What do you think? Do you think we've lost our way with that regards? That's the danger of the leftists. They want to keep people in all their nice little cultural bubbles. There's even arguments about cultural appropriation. I mean, come on. We don't use Roman numerals, do we? We don't use cuneiform numerals. We use Arabic numerals. Cultural appropriation is just scientific progress, an advancement in many ways, and it's learning. So they've really gone off the deep end, these lefties. They really, really have. Sensible people don't think like they do. It's just all political. So let's have a look. Migrants will soon be able to access free See, I can't even talk English. Migrants will soon be able to access free English language classes amid fears 1 million citizens and residents in Australia would fail a basic proficiency test. Well, you know, how many of them are actually going to have gone through the education system here in Australia? I think a lot of Australians would fail that too. The Morrison government will unveil the changes today that also include a strengthened statement of values that will need to be signed by those wanting to be permanent residents. But there will be no English test for citizens, as was previously proposed in reforms that were scuttled in the Senate. Why? Why not? There should be. There should be. Why not? What's wrong with that? If they fail, then give them a class. Help them. Help them. That's a good thing. Any sensible person would want to learn English if they're moving to Australia. It's not discriminatory, everyone. And I'm actually I would not mind. This would be a program that I would, on the rare occasion, not mind the government pissing money away on. Let them do it. I know there's other ways you can get it, but let the government spend the money on it because it will help these people. And the economic payoff from allowing people from all the different cultures to communicate freely. I mean, have you ever tried to even have a conversation with someone that you can't speak the same language as? Is there any chance, is it even possible to develop a friendship there? In an address to the National Press Club today, Acting Immigration Minister Alan Tudge will outline his concerns that around 500,000 migrants can't speak English fluently after living in Australia for 15 years. 15 years. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? We're segregating everyone. People are self-isolating. That's a bad thing. That is a dangerous thing. You don't want that in a civilization. You do not. Because then different groups, they're not even speaking the same language. They could be ideologically vastly different. Then these groups can get political power. And then your own country, the values that you aspire to, can disappear. Have a look. Look at what's happening in Holland. So this is not to blame anyone whose English language proficiency is poor. Maybe I should do a course. But clearly, full participation in the community is difficult when there are language barriers, he said. Exactly. Exactly. Without English language skills, migrants are less likely to get a job, less likely to integrate, and less likely to participate in our democracy. Or the risk is they will participate in the democracy, but they will only support their own group, or maybe more ideologically extremist versions. Moreover, living in Australia does not guarantee that English will be acquired. Based on census data, it is estimated that around half of the overseas born who arrive with no English still cannot speak English well, or at all, after 15 years of residency. Wow. He said poor English skills would leave the migrants at a disadvantage in the jobs market. And when the number of people with poor English skills is high, our national cohesion is also affected. How can we fully connect together without a common language? How can everyone fully and comprehensively participate in democracy, he said. Well, here's a question. With regards to literacy, if you can't speak English, how many people are going to be able to read it? And what is our literacy rate then? So if we look up here, I'm going to look it up, you know. Australian literacy rate. So they're saying here we've got a 99% literacy rate, which I call bullshit. If we have 1 million people that can't even speak English, there's no way we can have a 99% literacy rate. Oh, but they're literate in other languages. So what? That's not the actual language of the country. What do you think about that one, guys? That's an interesting thought. If 1 million people aren't even proficient, how many of them are literate in English? So further, malign information or propaganda can be spread through multicultural media, including foreign language media controlled or funded by state players. This could be particularly influential if local residents' English is poor, and hence they are more reliant on foreign language sources. This is what happens when you have a multicultural society, everyone. Without allowing people or encouraging integration. This is what happens. Without expressly mentioning China, he will warn of unnamed foreign actors are putting migrants under surveillance in Australia. I'm particularly concerned about the reach of some foreign actors into our multicultural communities. Members of our diverse communities have been both victims of interference and used as vectors to engage in foreign interference, he said. Despite now being proud Australians, some communities are still seen by their former home countries as their diaspora, to be harassed or exploited to further the national cause. See, that's the concern, everyone. Remember when, well, let's say certain nations in Europe were, expanding to bring the people outside of their national boundaries back into their boundaries. Remember what happened there? Do you think that could happen in our future? This is why we need integration, why we need language skills. Some who criticize their former country are silenced through threats and intimidation, including to family members back in their country of heritage. Others are persuaded or forced to monitor or harass members of their own community who may hold views contrary to those of the governing regime in their former countries. However, he will argue, Mr. Tudgy will argue Australia remains one of the migrant success stories of the world. Well, here's the thing. We're not an old nation. Okay? We need to see how it keeps going. It's only been, 50 years since we've had this level of diversity in the migrants? Okay? In all seriousness. Multiculturalism, where you get different people from England coming over, or a few Europeans, it's a bit of a joke, guys. Come on. Seriously. The differences in cultures there between a German and an Englishman, is it that big a deal? Not really, okay? Not really. Or an Italian and a Northern European, it's not as drastic as other cultures. Even the languages are similar enough. When you see Buddhist monks providing free massages to weary firefighters, Muslim builders putting on barbecues for bushfire survivors, Irish tribes, see, this is it. You should just say Australians. Who cares? The updated Australian Citizen Test will include new questions on Australian values. Australian citizenship is both a privilege and a responsibility, and it should be granted to those who support our values, respect our laws, and want to contribute to Australia's future. Be nice if our government respected those. We'd ensure that those who come here and those who want to settle here clearly understand and are willing to commit to the shared common values that unite us as Australians. How about you get the Greens and the Labor members to sign up to those too, eh? Wouldn't that be good? What do you all think, everyone? Are you a migrant to Australia? How are your English skills? Or are you a second or third generation? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Do you think this is a good program? Do you think we should really evaluate our literacy skills if nearly 1 million people are not even proficient in spoken English? As always, thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. If you're a fan and want to support my content, there are a few ways you can. You can join the channel on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us using our affiliate links at Amazon, eBay, Independent Reserve, or Kucoin. You can buy merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care, and I will see you all next time.